Hey, Karen, did you hear that they are going to finally prosecute some election fraud?
Well, no, I didn't hear that. It's about time. Hello, this is Karen.
And this is Kevin.
And this is Right From Us.
Yeah, it's for homecoming queen election.
Of course it is. Disappointing.
Yeah, in Pensacola, Florida, this 16-year-old girl somehow hacked into the school's computer system. She, her mom either worked for the school or somehow her mom had access to the school's computer system, and this 16-year-old hacked into
mysteriously won.
Yeah, she fabricated like hundreds of votes. And won the home. I guess she won. I don't know. Somehow she hacked into the thing.
Well, I'm assuming that I mean, why else would you hack it to not win? I'm going to hack it so someone else can win.
I don't know. I mean, there could possibly be.
Yeah, maybe.
Election
I don't
hack
know.
that didn't win, but.
Yeah, I guess.
Anyway.
Well.
Yeah, she's apparently they are saying that she could get 16 years in jail for this.
That's insane. As opposed to the two girls that zapped that Uber driver with a taser and causing him to wreck and die.
Yeah,
I think they pretty much got a slap on the wrist.
Did they? I stopped following that story.
I think so, honestly. But here's the thing: it wasn't. I guess it wasn't dramatic enough because you don't hear that story anymore, right? So you kind of have to ask why. What happened to those two girls?
Yeah, it's kind of amazing how stories just kind of
they just kind of disappear, don't they?
Yeah.
Disappear off the face of the earth. Well, speaking of elections, they're recounting the ballots in Arizona.
Yeah, they've got the big audit going on in Arizona.
And, the Democrats are absolutely going apoplectic about it.
Apoplectic.
They're going crazy. Here's an article on WND. I guess we know who cheated now. Have you ever wondered what the kind of conspiracy it would take to cheat on a national election on what has been heretofore the greatest nation the world has ever seen? It's emerging. It's becoming more and more clear. The suspect list is growing. The Justice Department is getting involved, choosing sides in the dispute between the Democrats and Republicans. Once again, does that surprise anyone? Think of how quickly Attorney General William Barr ran from the scene of the crime. Think of how nearly everyone at the Justice Department opposed Donald Trump, from James Comey to Andrew McCabe to Ron Rosenstein to Christopher Wray to Peter Strozak.
Peter Stroke.
Stroke?
Yep.
Stroke. Why is there a Z in that?
That's how it said. Peter Stroke.
That's a weird spelling. It has only gotten worse under the Joe Biden coup. In case you missed it, the Arizona legislature has been trying to get to the bottom of what happened. They suspected something went very wrong there. People have jumped through hoops to make the biggest audit in American history possible. The Justice Department on Wednesday issued a formal warning to the state of Arizona by claiming that the ongoing audit of the 2020 election results may run contrary to 1960s Civil Rights Act. The warning also indicated other potential violations, saying
1960s Civil Rights Act. What's that have to do with anything?
Right, that's what I was just thinking. It's like, what does that have to do with the tea in China or whatever? Saying there could be at least issues of potential non-compliance with federal laws enforced by the department. Okay, blah blah blah. This is boring.
But I mean, the bottom line is, you see who's going crazy about the audit.
How about every Democrat you can think of?
Does that tell you something?
Who opposes the audit? Yeah.
Yeah.
What do they have in common? They all know that the fraud will be uncovered and ultimately send Joe Biden packing. That's not the case in the short term. The hand count will not change the results because officials in the states have already certified them.
Yeah.
But the point of bringing this up is that the reason why they're pursuing this is they want to prevent something like this from happening in the future, because if they don't resolve this, then the American people have no faith in the election process.
Yeah. It potentially could result in more procedures that keep election fraud from happening in the future.
Yeah, but who said this? Some talk show host said, I guess really ultimately it doesn't make a difference, because whether your side wins or not, there's always going to be one side that opposes the results. I mean, there are people that still think Hillary Clinton got gypped out of it. That Donald Trump was never supposed to be the president.
Well, there are still people that think that Donald Trump colluded with the Russians.
I mean, yeah. So I guess
that was actually proven to be false, but the news never covered that part of the thing.
Yeah. So they just left it hanging, so people just assume it's still true.
Yeah. For 3 years, they the news media just promoted a false story. And that was probably on Facebook about, probably 1 million times.
Yeah. So,
And now that it's been proven false, that's never been covered.
and that's the reason why this is happening, because people are like, why? Why are we going through this? Well, that's why we're going through this, because we got to show, because again, if everything's on the up and up, what's everybody scared about? Okay, fine. So count the votes. Let's make sure that it was legit. If you have nothing to hide, what are you worried about? And if it comes out that Joe Biden is the true president, then okay, so be it.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, so, yeah.
But there are so many questions that it just warrants investigation. That's all.
Right.
People just get irritated by that whole process. But, when you have questions.
Yeah, and if
it's okay to ask questions, people.
If the audit results in, proving that
yes,
Joe Biden actually did,
then so be it. Joe Biden is the president.
That'd be great.
And life goes on.
Yeah.
And the next election, hopefully we learn from the mistakes from this past one. We don't repeat it.
Right.
Which DeSantis passed something in his state. Boy, that man is on fire right now. DeSantis is on fire, and that's a good thing, by the way. He is really passing all kinds of great stuff. But he was talking about how they will no longer mail out ballots. No more mail out ballots. You can do absentee. You can whatever.
Yeah.
Submit your name, get your absentee ballot, vote, and move on. But no more just mass mailing.
He has actually had quite a few things lately that have been pretty impressive. Like, saying that there was going to be no vaccine passports in the state. And then in the last couple of days, he said that they're doing away with the unemployment, the ridiculous unemployment. And
Yes. He's given people till the end of the month to get a job.
And my only question about that is why wait to the end of the month?
Yeah, we
it's
talked
like,
about
why
this.
Why not just make it immediately?
I think it's something to do with some kind of pay period situation, Mr. Accountant.
I mean, that's 3
you would know
weeks.
of all that.
Why would they wait 3 weeks?
Yeah, but I bet that people have already gotten their checks for May. So he's just given them plenty of notice. Hey, by the end of May, you need to find a job because you are not getting any more checks. And that's the way it should be all across America, by the way, because have you guys noticed? I mean, it's this way all across the country. Businesses are struggling to find people to come in and work.
There's a couple of restaurants, actually a few restaurants right around us that have signs on their door saying, sorry, our dining room's not open. We don't have the people.
Yeah, isn't that sad? Like our Sonic, we were driving in there tonight and they had whole sections of their drive-throughs or their drive-in stalls.
The stalls were
blocked
all closed
off, and then they had a big sign on their drive-through speaker that said they were open certain hours. So now that not only are they having to cut down the number of customers they can help, they're also having to adjust their hours,
right?
Because they just can't get the staff in there to work.
Can't get people to work because they're getting paid not to work.
Yes, because they're being paid to stay home and do nothing.
This thing is supposed to go till September. This legislation that was passed by the Democrat Congress.
This whole process is so asinine to me because the government is shooting themselves in the foot once again, as they always do, because you shut down these businesses that are already struggling.
Yeah.
Then you have less people working and less people paying taxes.
But Biden was asked about that the other day, 2 days ago, whether or not the bad employment numbers were because of no, that has nothing to do with it.
Oh, no, I believe his exact words were no. He seriously, he was asked, do you think the unemployment, or you think the whatever, however it was phrased, and he just said no. There was no explanation. There was no rationalization. There was nothing. He just said no.
I think there's just a basic economics is not being understood by these people. If you pay people not to work, they're probably not going to show up to work.
I disagree. I think they know exactly what they're doing. They just don't want to go into details.
Well, okay, that's a good point. Maybe they do know what they're doing.
I think they know exactly what they're doing.
Maybe this is like a stealth way to get the $15 minimum wage in there, so people will have to pay $15 an hour or whatever it is just to get people to show up.
Well, I think that's definitely a possibility, but I also think it's just one step closer to socialism and communism. Like the government controls every aspect of your life.
Yeah, well, for sure. If you get people hooked on getting
absolutely.
their monthly check.
Yes, because then if you get the people hooked on those checks from the government, then the government is your employer. And you have to do and say whatever your employer wants you to do, because otherwise you don't get paid. And you don't get to pay your bills, and you don't get to buy your iPhones and blah, blah, blah. So yes, I think that it is definitely just another ploy from the left to have people dependent on them. Personally, that's what I think.
Yeah.
But it's just so crazy. It just because it's so weird to me they don't think about this though. Because okay, they're spending trillions of dollars, and this money is being printed and passed around. How do they? I don't know how they can. How do they feel like they can get any of this money back? Who's going to pay for this? If the businesses go out and we don't have people working, we have more and more people staying home, and they're not paying taxes. Where are they hoping to get this revenue from?
I don't think they have a basic understanding of economics. I just think they don't think that through.
And then they're like, well, inflation could happen. I don't know how it can't happen.
Yeah, it's going to happen.
You know what I'm saying?
I'm actually trying to think of ways to combat that. You know,
actually,
because if you keep your cash in the savings account, it's just going to get.
Yeah, no. Who was it I was listening to the other day that was saying that the best defense for inflation was a stock market.
Definitely.
Do you agree with that? Because I don't know a whole lot about that.
If you look at the stock market, the money has been flowing into the stock market like you would not believe.
And is that why? Because people are preparing for potential inflation to protect their assets and stuff?
I mean, probably, possibly, that's partially part of the reason. So people have the money, so they're just putting the money in the stock market, you know.
So in your opinion as an accountant, what is your best defense against inflation?
I'm trying to figure that out. I mean, real estate, you know, is an awesome thing.
Real estate's really hot right now. You can't even buy a house. Houses get sold within hours.
Yeah, I mean, gold and silver, you'd think at some point would become more valuable because of the inflation.
I've been hearing a lot of commercials
but
for
your money in the
gold
savings
and silver.
account is just going to get dwindled away by the inflation.
So that's like the last place you want to have your money.
Right.
I don't know. It's crazy, but it's worrisome to me that inevitably that's where it has to go.
Yeah, if they want to have all this free money to people, I think that there should be some kind of government service or military service or something tied to it. Don't you think that'd be a good idea?
What do you mean?
Like, say, if you want unemployment, or say if you want free college, they keep talking about this free college thing. If you want free college, sure, you can have free college, but you have to come to the military for 2 years.
Oh, yeah.
Or something like that.
Oh, yeah, that's a really good idea.
Yeah.
Like you have to serve your country.
Yeah.
You have to give back somehow.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a good idea.
Which
you can do for your country, but what?
Ask, how did it go?
Wait.
Ask not, you know the thing.
Yeah. I don't know. Some guy named JFK, I think, said it. I don't know.
Yeah, you know
like
the
that.
thing.
Yeah.
Ask not what your country can do for you, but ask what you can do for your country.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great idea. Man. Yeah, come on, man. That's a good idea though, to give back to your country. I mean, if you're gonna take from the country, then you should give back to the country.
Yeah,
that's a great idea.
You know, up in Congress when they're talking about this, doing away with the student loans, make it tied to some kind of. I think that would be really great. For your country.
Actually, it would be.
And then quote JFK when they do that. Wouldn't that just make their heads explode?
Well, I don't know. I don't think anything makes their heads explode nowadays.
I mean, of course, JFK today would be like he'd be like a conservative Republican.
In comparison, for sure.
Yeah, because he was for lower taxes and quite a few things that the Republicans are for.
I think it would also be really good disciplinary kind of lesson. And, to teach these kids nowadays who just don't know hardship. They don't know hardship. They're, talking bad about America and how terrible it is and how racist it is and all this stuff. And, in the meantime, they're saying this from the comfort of their home with their iPhone in their hand and, posting pictures to Instagram and all this other. These kids nowadays don't know any hardship at all. So I guess they have to create it. Don't you think? In some ways? It's like, or are they just bored? Are people just bored because they have nothing else to do, nothing else to focus on and work toward?
I mean, that's part of it. I mean, we definitely got the snowflake generation. The generation of people that got trophies for just participating in everything.
Showing up every day.
Yeah.
Yeah. In fact, that reminds me of a conversation I had with a girl at work. Her husband is, I think, a supervisor at his job, and they actually had to take classes on how to deal with the millennials because, millennials nowadays have never known life without a phone in their hand. And if they have to go long periods of time without their phone, they go through withdrawals. And so they have to take breaks so they're able to check their phone and basically feed their addiction. And I just find that incredibly sad that that's where we are nowadays, that you have to cater how you treat people. People don't just show up to work anymore. They just show up. You have to do what you have to do. You have to bend over backwards to keep the people that you have hired just so they don't walk out on you. And you have to have all these special classes in order to figure out how to treat them. Isn't that crazy? I was shocked when she told me that. I was like, oh, you're lying. She's like, no, it's a real thing.
Yeah, I actually had a guy, I mean, this has been 20 years ago, but I actually had a guy that showed up for work the first day, and then he quit because he didn't want to wear a tie. He said, I just don't want to wear a tie every day.
Isn't that
so,
crazy?
And that was, at that office, we wore ties, which,
I know you hate it as well.
I hated it.
But if that's a requirement of the job, then that's a requirement.
He didn't want to wear a tie, so he just quit.
I mean, we've had people go to lunch and not come back.
Yeah.
We had one girl just go to California one time, and she called our boss on like the second day she was supposed to be there, and she's
California.
like, "Oh, I took a vacation. Did I not tell you?" And my boss was like, "Don't come back." It boggles my mind that kids, younger people nowadays think this is acceptable behavior. But I guess in a society now where you've got McDonald's paying people $50 just to show up and have an interview. And sign-on bonuses and referral bonuses and things like that just to get people to come in and interview for jobs. So I guess kids nowadays can afford to be like, meh, ties, I'm not going for it. I quit.
I was talking to a guy the other day he has a client that's a bankruptcy attorney, and he was thinking, well, your business must be going gangbusters, and it's like, no, not really, because not that many people are going bankrupt, because one of the driving things behind bankruptcy is evictions. And the CDC had a moratorium on evictions for the last year. However, CDC has authority to do that.
Yeah, I don't know.
But
I don't know why the CDC has authority to do a lot of things.
All this government involvement is just really screwing everything up.
Oh, it's completely screwing stuff up.
So anyway, we have a correction from last week. We were debating whether or not dandelions were weeds. Was that last week?
I think that was last week, yeah. Which apparently I stand corrected. It is not technically a weed. So I stand corrected.
Anything is a weed if it's growing in the wrong place. Like grass.
Good point.
If grass
That's a good point.
is growing in a cornfield, that could be considered a weed.
Because it's growing where it's not supposed to.
Yeah.
So a dandelion is not a weed, but they're from the same family as sunflowers.
And a dandelion seed can travel up to 5 miles before it lands.
And a dandelion green, because remember we mentioned that people eat them, and I was kind of shocked by that. I didn't even know they were edible. I mean, who would want to? But a cup of dandelion greens is 535% of your daily recommended vitamin K, which I thought was not necessarily a good thing. I thought vitamin K thickens your blood.
Yeah.
And 112% of vitamin A.
Well, we'll have
who
to
knew?
Pick some dandelions next time we see them in the yard before I spray them.
Yeah.
And
don't pick them after you spray.
And up until the 1800s, dandelions were seen as extremely beneficial. People would remove grass and plant dandelions in their yard.
Who knew? I had no idea.
Yeah.
I just thought they were a fun little flower that you just blew on and seeds went everywhere.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Now you know.
Now you know the things you know, the things you
Just think
find out
all
about
the information
on this podcast.
that's on this podcast. It's so informative.
Can you tell we've been married? We'll have been married almost how many years? I'm going to test him. How many years will it have been this
31,
anniversary?
31, because,
Darn it.
30 was sort of the...
Boy, 30 was disappointing, huh?
Yeah, we had a big cruise, big vacation planned.
We were supposed to go to Northern Europe on a cruise, and that didn't happen. Because our anniversary is the end of May, and we all know what happened last year this time.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny because we kept saying, let's not cancel it because it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen.
I was fully 100% convinced
It's going
that
to
this
happen.
was going to blow over by
Yeah.
summer last year.
Yeah.
And
by
boy,
fall
was I wrong.
we'll be fine. It'll
Oh,
be fine.
yes. I thought there's no way it's going to drag out until September. And, well, we all know how that turned out.
Yeah.
And speaking of cruising, I heard that not DeSantis. I heard that they didn't say which specific cruise line said this or if it was more than one cruise line. But apparently they're upset with DeSantis because he's outlawed the vaccine passport in Florida, and the cruise lines, well, if you don't require vaccine passports, we're not going to be cruising out of your ports.
Okay, well, there's a conflict there because the CDC is requiring, they're requiring the vaccination. But how else would you prove it, I guess? I guess
Yeah.
you could upload
I don't
your
know
vaccine
how.
card.
So it sounds like they're a little bit at an impasse down there. But I guess, I understand both sides of that story. I do, because the cruise lines are going to be super cautious whenever they can get up and running so they don't get shut down again. But on the other hand, they've not been in business now for going on almost a year and a half. So how can they afford to be choosy at this point? So I can see both sides of that story. So they really are at an impasse. I don't know. All I know is that
I don't understand why the cruise line cares. All they have to, they have the requirement that the passengers have to provide proof that they've been vaccinated.
Well, but just
what do
like
they
you
care about the
said-
vaccine? What do they care
Yeah,
about
but
the
just like you said,
passport?
how are they going to provide proof
Well,
otherwise?
they could have the passengers upload, because when you take a cruise, you have to do this online check-in thing. They could just make sure.
People lie.
Well, yeah, but you'd have to upload your document or something. But I guess
Well,
it could
i.e.
be
a
fake.
vaccine passport or
Fake.
some kind of
Yeah.
documentation.
But
whether you call it a vaccine passport or not, in
But
essence.
I think you get like a card, don't you? I don't know.
Well, yeah,
I've
it's a
seen
vaccine
people-
passport. That's what they're calling them.
No, that's
Yes.
something different. This is
No.
like your vaccine card that shows what date. It's like a handwritten thing.
Yes.
That's not a vaccine passport.
That's what they're using as a vaccine passport, aren't
No,
they?
the vaccine passport is a thing where you get something with a barcode that you scan when you go to
Well,
a
maybe eventually,
concert or
but I
something
think
like that.
right now that's what people are showing to prove that they had the vaccine passport,
Right.
because some business got caught forging that particular card, and they're getting fined like thousands of dollars because they got caught doing it. But I don't know. It just doesn't make any sense to me. Once again, I just feel like the cruise industry is just suffering. And I feel kind of sorry for him. I really
The travel
did.
industry
Yeah.
and the cruise industry especially has just gotten destroyed by the CDC. Why would they do that?
Why are we allowing them to do that?
I just think
the
it's-
bigger question.
Yeah, how can they do that? And also the real estate industry. How can the CDC just say you can't evict people? It's an agency.
I
It's
know.
government agency. How can they do that?
I think it's all under the stupid umbrella of emergency use. I think that the emergency use gives them carte blanche.
Yeah.
Just gives them free reign to do whatever they want to do.
Yeah. Well, the thing about the evictions actually got rejected by a judge in the last few days, but then there's an appeal.
Oh, really?
So, yeah.
Is that here in Missouri or just
No,
overall?
it's in the United States.
Oh.
I don't know what district it was or anything like that, but it did get rejected by a judge, and then it's under appeal. So it's not completely been, the moratorium on evictions has not been done away with yet, but it's in the process.
Yeah, and kind of getting back to the whole hiring problem, I just wanted to kind of tell people out there that please be patient and kind to everyone that's out there working right now. I mean, they're working, the people that are actually working are being worked to death because they're shorthanded and they're having to double, triple duties and double shifts and that kind of stuff. And just be nice to them because they're under a lot of stress.
Yeah, these are the people that are choosing to work.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Instead of sitting at home on their butts.
So let's not treat them poorly and be patient and just understand that if the lines are long, or you get someplace and they don't have something that you wanted or whatever, just okay, it's fine. Just be kind to people out there.
Yeah.
And if you see someone being mean, speak up. I mean, I have before, like, hey, dude, you're being kind of rude.
Yeah.
So just
And let's
calm
tip these
down.
people. Let's tip the ones that are working, man.
Absolutely tip them. They deserve to be treated kindly because they're just trying to do the right thing and live their lives. And so just be nice to people. This is really stressful time for a lot of people. So
Yeah, it's all created by the government. But anyway.
it's what else is new? They always create problems and then they don't know how to. They try to fix it and they just make it way worse. That's just what the government does.
So we've got the big Chinese rocket tumbling toward Earth.
Yeah,
here.
I guess we better hope it doesn't hit anybody.
Yeah.
Nobody knows where it is or when it's going to fall.
Should we get into the basement? Has it hit yet?
I have no idea.
It was supposed to. I mean, we're doing this on Saturday. What is this? The
It's
8th?
May 8th.
This is when it's
At
supposed
8
to.
8:00 at night.
Today was when it's supposed to possibly.
I mean, maybe it's already hit and we don't know.
Yeah.
But I guess
I
why didn't they shoot it down? Why weren't they going to shoot it down?
Because it's so broad of an area that there's no way they could ever target something like that.
That whole subject kind of makes me nervous because think how much space junk is out there just waiting to fall to Earth.
I just wonder if it's overblown, though, because isn't it just going to burn up on the way into
Oh, well, I hope
the
so.
atmosphere?
I hope it does. But I don't know. Do you think it's just another thing to distract people?
It's just one manufactured crisis after another, don't you
Yeah.
think?
Either,
Just to get people afraid.
Or is it because we're paying more attention? I mean, are these really crises, or are we just paying more attention to all the news that's out there? So
You mean we, like you and me?
yeah,
or-
like me and you, or whatever people that
Yeah.
pay attention. I guess.
Well, I mean, it's on the news.
well, it must be true. It's on the news, and it's
It's on the
definitely true.
internet. It's on the internet, so it must be true.
What do you think about this Black Lives Matter crap still going on? I saw a thing today in Texas, a group of Black Lives Matter protesters, and to be fair, they were protesting. They were not, at least on the video I saw, they hadn't gotten violent. I hope they hadn't turned that direction, but they were in the middle of the street of a very busy intersection. Cars lined up for about a mile, at a standstill because they're in the street. They can't go anywhere. And the police show up, and this one big dude gets out of his car, and he's trying to tell them, get out of the road, a-holes, blah, 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 And the police is detaining him, saying, no, let them go, let them protest. And I guess they just all had to sit there until they got tired of protesting.
Where was this?
It was in Texas, and it was happening today. I saw it on Twitter, which it must be true if it's on Twitter. But it was a video. So
Yeah. Yeah, I saw one a few weeks ago where they were these, I don't know if it was, I think it was BLM. They were just stopping cars and making people honk for BLM. And once they would honk, then the people would get to go, proceed. It's like,
well, I saw another video in Portland where a guy was just driving through a neighborhood and was suddenly surrounded by BLM protesters who started like beating on his car and wouldn't let him go. And they've just become such thugs. They're just bullies and thugs.
yeah. Should we talk about the time that we drove through a BLM riot? Yeah, we had to get to Hobby
year.
Lobby to get some calligraphy supplies.
Hey,
so it was
priorities.
important.
It's priorities,
And
people.
so we just drove right through the riot.
We didn't drive through it. We went around it. They were in the street,
we
though.
went right past the blockade. The police.
Well, okay, so they were
the police
coming
had
up.
the road blocked off, and you just drove right around it to get to Hobby Lobby because we had to get calligraphy supplies.
Yeah, I had things to do. I did not have time to sit there and wait for BLM protesters to do their thing.
That's a riot, though. If people are blocking traffic, that's a riot.
And that's my point.
That's not a protest.
And here's the thing.
A protest is when holding a sign up saying, down with whatever.
Yeah, but I have a theory
That's a
on
protest.
that. I think the reason why they're in the middle of the street is because no one's paying attention to them, and that's the only way they can get people to pay attention to them is to actually get in the road and force people to stop. And like, hey, look at me, I'm protesting. Otherwise, they're on the side of the road and people just ignore them. So I think that's just another ploy on their part to just be seen and heard. And on one hand, I get it because, from their perspective, I think some of them are doing it just because they've been paid to, but whatever. I think some people genuinely believe it's a good cause, and they're out there and they're protesting, so they want to be heard. And that's the only thing they can think of, is to get out there in the middle of the road so they can be heard. But we've got to draw the line somewhere, right?
What?
I mean, what's to say they're going to start going through neighborhoods and terrorizing people in their houses?
So what's their point? I mean, what are they protesting again? I don't get it. What?
I don't know. A good question. I guess just Black Lives Matter, I guess. I don't know.
Okay.
They're protesting against systemic racism as they see it, apparently, because when you interview some of these people, they truly believe that thousands of Black people have been murdered by cops every year, because the media narrative has taught them that. And when they have no idea that is completely false.
Yeah, they're just ignorant. I mean, there's more people struck by lightning than are killed by cops, but by white people or Black people killed by white cops. It's like 10 times more people struck by lightning than that. So
really,
they're just ignorant.
Who's really to blame here?
Well,
the media,
the news media, and the education system.
Once again, yes, absolutely, I agree with that. They've taught kids from a very young age to think this way and think that it's normal. So this is why, indoctrinating our kids is dangerous, because this is what happens. They grow up thinking a certain way, and there's just really no telling them otherwise, that what they've been taught all their lives is incorrect. Speaking of that, there's a school district that tells principals to create fake curriculum to send parents after complaints of indoctrination. So they're sending parents one curriculum when they're really teaching another to children. Faced with, as a matter of fact, it's in Missouri. Awesome. Faced with complaints from parents about the indoctrination of children, an official in Rockwood School District, Missouri, instructed teachers to create 2 sets of curriculum, a false one to share with parents, and then the real set of curriculum focused on topics like activism and privilege. And therein lies our problem, folks. You indoctrinate these kids, they grow up thinking this.
Yeah, and keep the truth from the parents. So
that the parents have no idea. The problem was that for the first time, parents could see what teachers were telling their children thanks to virtual learning, where assignments were visible for at-home learners in a tool called Canvas. So, silver lining, I guess that's one good thing coming from all this virtual Zoom meetings learning, is that the parents are finally figuring out what their kids are being taught.
Seems like there's a lot of this craziness that is found out to be in Missouri. Why is that?
I do not know.
I mean, we had Ferguson. Was it Michael Brown that?
Was it Michael
Hands
Brown?
up,
I can't
hands
remember.
up, don't
Ferguson?
shoot. It's like he never said that.
Yeah. And then this whole birthing people situation. It's no longer women can give birth, but it's birthing people. Another Missouri. Democratic Representative Cori Bush of Missouri on Thursday replaced the term women with birthing people in an attempt to include the transgender community while discussing child mortality during a House committee hearing. Testifying about how her now-grown children were born prematurely, Bush, a radical feminist and a purveyor of woke politics, blasted the medical industry for its perceived disservice to Black mothers. So that has really taken hold. Taken the internet by storm. Everybody's talking about birthing people, which is so insulting to women.
She's a nut job. How do we get all these kooky people in Missouri? How'd that happen?
I don't know.
We do have Josh Hawley, though, out there.
Yeah,
he was in the news this
okay.
week for something. I forgot what it was, but
I like him, but there's something about him.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just don't trust him. Not that I trust any politician, but still.
Yeah.
I don't know. At least he's got some cojones to speak up about some of this stuff, which is more than I can say for half the people out there. But
yeah, we had Biden's big speech about getting the country, 70% of the country vaccinated by July 4th. He has this weird thing where he's whispering, and then he's like yelling. What? Have you noticed that?
I try not to listen.
It's like
to
he's
Biden.
whispering, like telling us a story, a sweet little story. But then he gets really loud.
I don't think I've noticed that. I'll have to pay attention.
Yeah, pay attention.
You think that's like just a tactic to get people's attention?
I don't know. Some people are saying that it's something to do with dementia.
I don't know. They're saying Kamala Harris is not vice president. She's actually co-president.
Who said that?
Oh, I don't know. I just see it all over the place. That's just the people are theorizing that this is what she's doing. This Washington state governor, get this, orders churches, sporting events to implement vaccinated sections. So now not only are we being segregated by color, we're being segregated by whether you've been vaccinated or not. Which, whatever, I'm fine. Put me in the non-vaccinated section.
Yeah.
I'll sit over there.
Yeah, no kidding. Because, right. And actually, I've seen a story about a school.
Doesn't bother me at all.
A school that is not allowing vaccinated students in. Vaccinated students or teachers. They will not allow them in.
Well, you know what? You're probably better off keeping your kids out of public school anyway.
Yeah.
Or private school. Or whatever.
Yeah, this is a private school. They're not allowing vaccinated people in their school.
I don't know if I want to sit with vaccinated people anyway, because don't they shed the virus?
Can we say that?
Well, I just said it. Well, COVID
this
virus.
may not be. This may not make it on
No,
YouTube.
no. The only reason that was taken off is because I called the
Don't say
jab
it.
something else. I know I'm not going to say it because YouTube doesn't like it when I say that.
Well, I think they have these computer programs that key in on certain things.
Well, they do. They like closed caption, and then they probably have, like you said, keywords that catch their attention. But anyway, it's just the reason I'm bringing that up is just yet further, trying to divide people. Just another attempt to segregate people into groups.
The
further divide people.
Non-vaccinated people sit in the back of the bus, please.
Yes,
and
exactly.
drink from the non-vaccinated drinking fountain, and sit at the non-vaccinated lunch counter.
Isn't
please.
it insane? I can't even believe we're here. But this has happened before in history. The book that you're reading? I think it's
not specifically about vaccines, but
but yeah,
this stuff with
this
the
whole
left
division.
This stuff has all happened before. I mean, it's just an ongoing thing. The left, violent. If you read things back in the '60s, they were doing the same thing, talking about race. Your white privilege, your racial privilege. That is all that's been around for a long, long time. It's not new.
When you read that to me today, I was shocked. Really don't.
I know.
It's like
it's almost like something that you could read in the paper today.
Wow, that's crazy. So it's cyclical, just like weather.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, different issues. Well, I guess kind of the same issue, just being recycled again.
Yeah. I mean, it's like the same terminology that they were using in the '60s. Your white privilege, your racial privileges. I think that's what they called it then. But
yeah.
Anyway,
did you see the video of the woman that was stopped by a Latino cop, and she kept calling him a murderer?
Yeah. Did they?
She said, "You'll never be white. Why are you trying to be white, dude? What?"
I mean, that's obviously racist. What
have they clearly?
Have they ever released her name?
Yes,
that was a secret for a while.
Yeah, I saw. There's an article somewhere that I saw. They actually posted her face and her name, which is that doxing?
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
That's doxing.
But is that what they should have done? Because see, on one hand, I don't know that they should have done that. Or is that part of public record because it was a police
I don't know.
Incident?
I don't know where the line is on that. But
I don't either.
Like if you just release somebody's name and address because they're of a certain political party or something, or that would definitely be doxing.
So basically the story is this Latino cop who has been a cop for a number of years pulled this woman over because she was using her cell phone while driving. This happened in California, and it's against the law to use your cell phone while you're driving. So he walks up to tell her that, and she's like, I wasn't speeding. I was going 38 and a 40. And what are you doing, you murderer? And blah, blah, blah. And he's like, ma'am, I pulled you over because you're using your cell phone while driving. And she just kept calling him murderer. And she goes, you're always going to be a Mexican. You'll never be white. You know that, right?
Yeah. And then she goes,
What the heck?
I'm a teacher.
Yeah. I don't know
and
why.
The police officer goes, congratulations. Yeah. I think I would have said, well, that probably explains a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, no kidding. It's like people expect to have like you're a teacher. Well, by all means, I'm sorry to bother you, ma'am. Go about your day. Oh, who cares? You broke the law or you're an ordinance or whatever. And then he asks for her driver's license and she doesn't have it on her. So she shows him a picture of her license. So he gives her another ticket because she's driving without a driver's license.
Oh, he did?
Yeah.
You can't show your license on a cell phone?
Apparently
that's not good enough.
I guess not. I guess she had to have it because I read that he gave her another ticket for not having her driver's license on her.
I did not know that. I always have mine with me, but
yeah,
I thought that was weird that she had a picture of it on her phone. Why would you have a picture of your license on your phone?
I have no clue. I have no clue. Why would you not always carry it? I mean, it's an ID. I don't get it.
That lady was.
She was so offensive. She was so offensive and vile. And I think her kid was in the back seat of her car.
Her 6-year-old son was in the back.
So see, yet again, what an example you're setting to your child.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a pretty disturbing video to watch. She just kept calling him murderer over and over again, how she was scared he was going to murder her and blah, blah, blah. And she's filming him and he's filming her twice, by the way. He had the police issued body cam on, and then he also had another body cam that he himself put on because he really wanted to make sure that it was, whatever interaction he has with people was captured, and good for him. He did a great job, though. He was very pleasant. I mean, he was not pleasant. He was just very patient.
Could you
really even raised his voice at her.
Could you keep that calm in that situation? If someone was yelling at you, calling you a murderer.
Okay, interesting that you say that, because I mean that's a different scenario because you have a cop coming up on you, and that's already nerve-wracking as it is because it's a police officer, and all the tensions nowadays. You don't want to inadvertently put him in the defensive mode, but in the same vein, what about that one guy that was filming that woman in the store without a mask on and causing quite the scene? And, coming up on her and, oh my gosh, that scared me.
Sorry about that.
Coming up on her and saying, my grandmother died because of people like you and blah, blah, blah. And she was pregnant, so she couldn't wear a mask. And she was trying to tell him this, and he was talking over her and just being a complete a-hole. So what would you do if someone came up to you? Because, we don't wear masks outside.
I haven't had anybody.
In stores.
Well,
outside
there is one store that the guy sort of harasses us. But if something like that, what happened to that lady happened to me, I would just say, could you just please mind your own business?
I think I would have a different reaction. I think I would just get my phone out and record him and just completely ignore him. Just go about my business. Like, you're clearly being a weirdo and just
you're
leave me
harassing
alone.
Me.
Because, that's basically what they want is a reaction. So I'm not going to give them the reaction.
I wonder, did you see the video? I just heard it. I just heard the audio. Did the lady, was she visibly pregnant or just?
I don't know. She was behind a counter. Like, she was at the checkout station and I couldn't tell.
That's somebody was talking about that, saying it's like, that's typical for somebody to pick on a poor pregnant woman, defenseless pregnant woman.
I don't know. I just think people have lost their minds right now. If it was a big bodybuilder without a mask, would he have done the same thing? Oh, well, good point. Probably not.
Probably not.
Yeah, probably not. I don't know. But, and because we have to always circle back to use Jen Psaki's language.
She hasn't been saying that lately.
Well, no, because she's been saying it so much, they made fun of her. She stopped saying it. Side note, she says that she's going to be stepping down, or she could be potentially stepping down from, White House Speaker in a year. Why would you not?
I don't see how anybody can stand that.
I don't know how anybody can stand it, especially right now with Biden, because he's just such an idiot.
Yeah.
That it's like, how do you defend that? Well, to be fair, and then poor Kayleigh McEnany, she, how could she defend Trump and some of his stupid tweets? Because he doesn't say that.
Okay, for example, what?
Oh, I'll have to look it up because there was a lot of tweets
some of his tweets were sort of
that the reporters would bring up, and she had great answers. She always had great answers in defense. But my point is, how exhausting would it be for her for as part of her job to just kind of diffuse some of these tweets that he put out there? But anyway,
okay, we're kind of getting up there on time. What else you got?
Well, the vaccine, because, I can't go a week without talking about the quote-unquote vaccine.
Oh, yeah.
As many people have died from COVID-19 vaccines as all vaccines in the last 20 years combined.
Says.
That's what the CDC says that. There have been nearly as many deaths from complications following inoculation with the so-called COVID-19 vaccines as there have been for all previous vaccines total since January 1st, 2001. In fact, the data are 5 days old, so the gap, which was at 4 on May 3rd, has almost certainly been bridged. I'm not sure what that means exactly.
But I mean, okay, if you're objective about that, you have to think that there's been, how many?
Right.
It's like 1 billion people have been vaccinated.
Yeah, you got to think about
in
numbers.
the last 6 months.
Right.
So, to be fair.
To be fair, correct. According to the CDC website, over 245 million doses of COVID-19 vaccines were administered in the United States from December 14, 2020 through May 3rd, 2021. During this time, VAERS received 4,178 reports of death, which is 0.0017%, pretty small percentage, among people who received a COVID-19 vaccine. CDC and FDA physicians review each case report of death as soon as notified, and CDC requests medical records to further assess reports. The website went on to boldly proclaim that a review of available clinical information, including death certificates, autopsy, and medical records, has not established a causal link to COVID-19 vaccines. This is important medical editorializing so as not to scare people. The CDC has a vested interest in getting as many people vaccinated as possible, so even when burying the important data about deaths at the bottom of a page intended to calm concerns over these experimental drugs, they did so with every intention of making people take it. Well, of course, that's like the fine print on a product that you buy that nobody reads, or agreements that you sign and nobody reads the fine print on that. I mean, that's in essence the same tactic that they're using for the vaccine. They're not going to tell you the bad stuff because they want people to take it. So that's all the more reason to ask questions. Don't just blindly stick your arm out and take whatever they give you.
There have been a lot of reactions, and there have been deaths, but there's also been 1 billion people that have gotten the vaccine. So,
Yeah, and I mean, to be fair, I'm sure there were similar things that happened when people got the polio and the vaccine, the polio and the measles.
Definitely,
and
with the polio vaccine, there was a batch of vaccines that actually caused the disease.
Yeah.
At the very first, when they first rolled out the vaccine.
Yeah. So I mean, to be fair, there's probably always going to be some adverse reactions.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't be cautious. We're being cautious.
Yes. Well, and then we watched a video on this website that my dad sent me on David. How do you say his last name?
I think it's Ickes.
Ickes? ICKES, or is it just ICKE?
I think it's just E. Yeah. So Icky.
So
Ike. Ike. It might be Ike.
Honestly, I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce his last name correctly. But on that website, there's a video of 3 women, all healthcare workers, various aspects of healthcare, who got the jab shortly after it came out in January. And then they all 3 had similar reactions to it, which was just convulsing, just this nonstop convulsing, and headaches and all this other stuff. And one woman went to 5 different ERs to try to get some help, and none of the doctors could help her. Either they wouldn't help her, which I get because they didn't want to be sucked into a potential like COVID or a vaccine reaction, which could quickly snowball into something bad, or they just simply didn't know what to do for her. And that makes sense because this is a vaccine that we don't know a whole lot about. Yeah. So, of course, doctors are not going to really know how to treat a reaction to it because they don't know a whole lot about the vaccine itself. So it's just another reason to pause and slow down and get some more information and, just I don't know, if we were dealing with the disease that had like a 60% survival rate, this would be a very different conversation right now. But we're not. We're dealing with a disease that has a 99% recovery rate for,
For most people.
For
if
people
you're-
60 and younger,
if you're over
really.
the age of 65, I think
Right.
it's 95%
right,
recovery
which is
rate.
still very high.
Yeah, so only a 5% death rate.
Yeah. And in essence, I just feel like people have lost a year of their lives by being so scared.
Yeah.
I just think that's sad. I think it's so sad.
Yeah. Yeah, we were watching people at dinner time. We were watching people walking down the street with, by themselves
With masks on.
It's
And,
like-
these poor people, they just, in their minds, they think they're doing the right thing, and I just think ignorance is a lot of it. They just have
Definitely.
not been told. They're given all the information.
Yeah, I mean, the stuff that's out there about the death rate of the vaccine is not talked about
Not at all.
in the regular news at all.
Yeah. And by the way, cases are virtually nil now, like at least in our area, because the hospital that I work at, they send out this dashboard every day to tell you how many patients have COVID in the hospital, and we're virtually down to like single digits.
Yeah, after, the
Which
previous...
is great.
2 weeks ago, they were like in a crisis mode because they had...
Yeah, they were saying,
know,
we're going to have to reopen our ICUs and blah, blah,
Yeah,
blah. And so,
30
of course,
people and 30
threw
people-
people another panic.
30 people out of 350,000 people in this area.
Yes.
That's not
See,
really a...
to me, that's almost
crisis.
criminal to scare people like that and
Yeah.
keep people in such a perpetual state of fear.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, I mean, it kind of goes back also to the education system. It's like if people knew how to compute percentages, they would just say, well, 30 people out of 350,000, well, that's just not really
Right.
significant.
Or at least just stop and ask questions.
Yeah. Okay, what else you got?
Okay.
How about the question?
Yeah, let's
our favorite thing.
Let's go to our favorite thing. Let's ask some fun questions this time, as opposed to other times when they're not
Yeah.
so fun. At least
they're
not to
always
Kevin.
fun. They're always fun.
He hates this part, but I feel like this is our most popular
I love
segment.
this.
By the way, for those of you watching the video, do you guys think our lighting's better? I feel like our lighting's always dark. We're filming this in a different area of our house today, so I hope the lighting is a little bit better for you guys. So have to let us know if you think this is better. Let's see. So let's ask. Let's see. I saw something down here that I was going to ask. Something about cereal.
Cereal?
Yeah. I think I lost it.
I had some Lucky Charms cereal a couple weeks ago, and it kind of made my teeth hurt.
Well, you think it was the sugar?
Yeah.
Um,
I used to love Lucky Charms.
Something about, do you think cereal is soup?
Cereal
Why or
is
why not?
soup?
I
No.
think that was the question.
No, because soup is hot.
Good
Soup
question.
is
Or
hot.
good point.
Like oatmeal could probably be considered soup.
Yeah, true. That's true. Let's see. Let's do some. Yeah, there we go. Is cereal soup? Why or why not? Okay, what is the sexiest and least sexy name? I think the least. Okay, no offense to anybody that has this name out there, but I think the least sexy name is Frank.
Frank,
I just think that is not a sexy name at all.
Fred.
Fred. Yeah, no offense to anybody that has that name out there, but I just don't think it's very sexy. What do you think is the least sexy name for a woman? Like Matilda
least?
or
The least?
the least?
I'm not going to go there because I don't want to offend anybody.
No, I mean, it's not, there's no
The
offense.
name,
I just,
I don't,
it's just my
it's
opinion.
the person,
It's not the person, it's the name. The person could be totally sexy, but the
Yeah.
name just doesn't sound sexy.
Yeah, you wouldn't expect somebody named like Martha or something to be
Yeah.
sexy.
Yeah.
Which I do know.
And I think it's just because it's an old name. So is Frank.
Yeah.
So is Fred.
Yeah.
It's just an old name.
Yeah, I know.
Maybe
Cute.
that's what makes it not sexy.
I know a really cute girl that's named Martha, so there.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
How about the sexiest name? When you hear a name, you're like, oh, that person sounds hot.
I can't think of one.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't want to say because I know a person with this name in real life, and I don't want this to get back to him. And he's like, "Oh, she thinks I'm sexy." I don't. That would just be really awkward. Let's see. What's the weirdest smell you have ever smelled? The weirdest smell. I think it's not really weird to me, but I just think it's gross, is seafood. I think seafood just smells disgusting.
There's this chemical factory over there on 65 that used to always smell like, I could never figure out what it was. It's like, what is that smell? And I think I figured out it was super glue.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't even know we had a factory around
I
here
don't
that makes super glue.
know that
Oh.
they make that, and I don't think that it still smells that way, but and I also used to work at this office that was next to a printing company. And every once in a while when they were printing something, it would just, the smell would be so strong of the ink or whatever.
I feel like you are very smell sensitive. Like you have a very sensitive smeller. Like when the kids were little and they dirty their diapers, he'd get so angry. And I think it was just the smell of poop that made him angry. You know, like there's just certain smells that just affect you emotionally.
I don't remember that.
Oh, I do.
Really?
I remember that. Yeah. He'd get pretty cranky when the kids had a poopy diaper.
I have an uncle that's disabled, and he is really sensitive to smells.
Do
Really.
you think it's because
like if I like spray an air freshener that he doesn't like, he'll just, he'll say, I don't like that.
do you think it's he has like a sensitive nose
I
to
don't know.
compensate for
I don't
other
know.
areas?
I don't know, maybe.
I think.
Yeah.
I think like a blind person, their hearing gets really good.
Yep.
Or vice versa or
Yeah.
whatever. What is a kids movie that completely scarred you? Like, or made an impact on you?
A kids movie? Mm-hmm. I don't know, but I can think of a movie that scarred my kids.
Oh, yes.
Karen used to work at night. So I would try to find things for the kids to do. So one time we watched Mars Attacks, and my son just completely had nightmares about that.
Oh, I know.
Because like at the first, during the movie, the Martian guy shoots like Marty, what's his name?
Oh, I don't remember.
The guy from from Back to the Future.
Yes. Oh my
whatever
gosh.
the guy's name is, and he
Michael J. Fox.
Yeah, Michael J. Fox vaporized. And,
Yes.
And my son had nightmares about that.
Well, I mean,
which I thought it was a really funny, pretty good movie.
And you still think he still torments him, by the way, with that
Yeah.
movie. Like around Halloween, he'll say, "Hey, let's watch Mars Attacks," and our oldest son's like, "No."
Yeah. That's actually one of my favorite movies. I like that movie.
I think that's a stupid movie. I cannot stand it. But I'll tell you, I can't really think of a kids movie that scarred me, but I can tell you a movie that absolutely scared the bejeebus out of me.
What's that?
Nightmare on Elm Street. That
Yeah.
scared
See, I don't
me
watch-
to death.
I don't watch things like that.
Just because I've always had a thing with dreams. I like
Yeah.
dreams coming true, or,
Yeah.
just, your subconscious talking to you in dreams or whatever. And so this bad guy that comes to you in dreams and can kill you in a dream is just, I don't know why, but it really scared me. Have you ever watched any scary movies that you were just like, oh my gosh?
I don't like scary, like bloody movies like that. I like thrillers where you get, startled. But I don't like bloody, scary movies.
Yeah, Nightmare on Elm Street was pretty bloody.
Yeah.
But you like kind of like supernatural movies like The Omen and Damien. And I cannot watch those kind of spirit movies and evil spirits. I can't. It freaks me out. I can't do it.
I watched that because it was kind of like how they treated Joe Biden. It's like they were, because I don't know if you've ever read this movie. This is going to be a spoiler.
Read
The
it or
Omen.
watched it?
Or read it or watched it. If you ever watched the movie.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah. I mean, all the demonic people are protecting Damien. It's kind of like how the news media protects Joe Biden.
Well, they just protect
And
their own, really, not
yeah.
just Biden.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's for sure. So that's why you like it, just because you thought it was
I just thought it was
indicative
interesting. Yeah, because there's this one radio host that I listen to that always has movie references, and he had that movie reference, so I had to go. I actually bought that movie on eBay and watched it.
Huh.
So,
speaking of radio personalities, did you hear that Missouri passed a Rush Limbaugh Day? It's supposed to be on his birthday in January, right?
Yeah, January 15th or
because Rush
January
Limbaugh
12th.
is originally from
Cape Girardeau.
Yeah, Cape Girardeau, Missouri.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which,
Yeah, that's going to make the
I'm sure heads are exploding.
Yeah.
As we speak, which is pretty funny.
Yeah, just like whenever he got the Congressional Medal of Honor,
Yeah.
that was awesome.
That was actually a very touching ceremony.
It was, and I guess Pelosi and a bunch of the Democrats didn't even stand up for it.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
But which is sad. But
Yeah.
anyway, okay, this is a pretty easy one. What is something that everyone looks stupid doing? Wearing a mask outside by yourself when no one's around.
There you go. Yeah.
I think that's
the most.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, speaking of wearing masks, another side note, we went to Walmart in a neighboring city the other night, and you would say about 2/3 of the people in there were not wearing masks. And
Yeah.
I'm telling you what, people, it was awesome to see so many people
It was
without
almost
a
kind
mask.
of weird. It was almost kind of weird. It's almost like back to normal.
Yeah, it was awesome. I loved it.
It's great. If you want to wear a mask, that's great.
Yeah, by all means,
Yeah.
go for
but
it.
if you don't want to wear a mask, you shouldn't be made to wear a mask.
Correct. Yeah. But anyway, I can't think of anything else.
Yeah, they still had the big sign out there on the Walmart saying mask required, but people are not wearing them.
No. And Walmart's not enforcing it because I think at this point the pendulum is starting to swing the other way.
Yeah, and
which is great.
just more and more people, if we just stand up to this, there's nothing they can do about it. They're not going to make 60% of their customers go away.
Right. Yeah, they can't do that. Let's see. Ew. What's the strangest place you've urinated or defecated?
Oh, come on.
Well, what kind of question is that? That's
I don't know.
gross.
I don't want to talk about that.
How about porta potties?
Well, I mean, campgrounds. Sometimes the campgrounds are like a public rest stop. Oh my gosh.
I used to have this irrational fear of like outhouses and falling through the hole. And my mom says I would like hold it until we'd go camping and I would hold it till we got back because I was so scared to go in outhouses. But they're scary and weird. I mean, ew, and they stink. And speaking of smells, in one sentence, how would you sum up the internet? I mean, you think it's necessary? I think nowadays it is. Yeah. Because he's always talking about how Twitter's stupid and
it's something that is necessary and
but
everybody
it's almost
depends
an evil
on it.
Necessary.
I know.
Yeah.
It's like just think
necessary
that
evil.
I always thought I still think that is going to be like a big terrorist attack someday.
To get rid of the internet.
Yeah, just make the internet go down. Just like everybody's banking transactions and
communication. I mean, we don't have a landline anymore, so
Yeah,
they get away.
communications.
They do away with the satellite and the phone service.
Yeah.
What do you do? I mean,
Yeah.
how do you communicate with people?
Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, I got some old analog
It's kind of scary to
radios
think
and
about that.
things like that we could communicate with, but most people
We do?
Yes.
Oh,
I'm
he's prepared.
I'm not a what do they call it?
Conspiracy.
Prepper. I'm not a prepper, but I
What?
do prepper.
Oh, a prepper?
Prepper. Don't
Is
you know
that a thing?
A prepper. Yeah, a prepper is one that is somebody that preps for the apocalypse, basically.
Is that supposed to be a derogatory term?
I mean, it is used.
I mean, to me, it's not derogatory.
No, I mean, I think it's a good thing to be prepared, but it's a derogatory term. Some people use it as a derogatory term. Oh, he's a prepper,
Really? I've never
Yeah.
heard that.
Yeah, they have,
What?
supply of food. They have communications. They have.
Oh, good for you. I think you should be prepped and ready to go for anything like that.
In some ways, we're preppers, but not like a prepper in the strict sense of a word. The word where we would have like alternate supply of energy, solar panels and off the grid and all that sort of thing. Except we do have like kerosene on hand and things like that, so we can.
Yeah. Well, we did learn our lesson when we had the ice storm of '07.
Yeah.
We were out without electricity for 11 days.
Yeah.
We now have a generator and we have an emergency rations food tub and that kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
that was a
Yeah.
learning experience. I
Yeah.
tell you what, you spent
Yeah.
your entire day
Yeah.
just getting ready for the night.
Yeah. Yeah, we had a whole bunch of wood on hand, and I thought, well, that's enough wood to last for a couple of
Yeah.
weeks. It lasted about 3 days.
Yep. Because this happened, well, it was an ice storm. So it happened in
Yeah,
February or January.
January.
Yeah. and it was super cold. And of course, the ice stuck around for that whole time period practically. And we were one of the last ones on the grid to get our electricity back. So we were out for 11 days. And so we definitely learned our lesson. And now we're prepared somewhat. But it's been, I mean, gosh, it's been a long time ago. So, okay, how are we doing on time? We getting up there?
We are ridiculous on time right now.
Okay. One more question. What is the most embarrassing thing you have ever worn? Have you ever worn anything embarrassing?
Pretty much everything I wore when I was a kid, my clothes. I don't know. I was always embarrassed of my clothes when I was a kid, and I was growing fast, so my jeans are always too short.
Yeah.
So I would sew those material on the
Yep.
bottom of my
Yep.
my jeans.
Yep.
And then one time I remember going to church with this shirt on. It was kind of a goofy looking, kind of a maroon shirt with some kind of pattern. And I remember some of the other kids snickering at me when I came into the classroom. Yeah.
Oh, that's sad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
I know.
that's just kids. So.
I was always the tallest in my class, so I had the same problem with too short jeans. And
Isn't that funny? You were the tallest and I was the shortest.
I know. Well, he always said he wanted to marry a tall woman so that we would have tall children and they wouldn't be getting made fun of because you were kind of the squirt.
I should
the
post a
runt in the whole
picture of
class.
me.
He was pretty short.
I was the shortest kid in the class
I
by
feel sorry
far.
for him. And
Yeah.
for like a long time, you didn't really even grow until after high school, did you?
I think like my junior year, I started
You finally
growing.
got a growth spurt.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that's funny. I was always the tallest in my class. I never got picked
Do
on
you
because I
have
was
any
always
class
tall.
pictures of you? It's like,
Oh, I'm sure I've got them around here somewhere, but
do you
I don't.
have your yearbooks?
Oh yeah, I've got my. Well, you know what? Yeah, I've got my. Well, I think I have my high school yearbooks. I don't think I had any yearbooks before high school. Did you?
Oh yeah, I've got some.
I don't know if we did or not. I have to look. But
got 'em.
anyway, I don't remember really wearing anything embarrassing per se. I mean, when you get to high school, you don't have money for the designer clothes. You know, it's kind of embarrassing. But I remember in third grade, and my mom is going to laugh when she hears this. But my mom, for school pictures, curled my hair, and she curled it right here and right here. So I looked like a poodle when she brushed it out. And I'll never forget. I was so embarrassed.
Kind of like Carol Burnett on that one.
Yes, that's exactly how I looked. It was really embarrassing. Oh,
That was probably cute.
No, it was not cute. It was not cute. Trust me. And then one time, I think I was in high school. I laid out in the sun with my sunglasses on, and I fell asleep, and I got sunburned around my glasses, and I got made fun of at school because I had super white eyes and then
You should have
red
just
around
worn your
here.
sunglasses to school.
And then I should have, and then I got blisters because I burned so bad around my nose and stuff. It was awful. That was embarrassing. Okay. I don't think we even have time to go over a week, do we? Since we're kind of running low on time.
He was busy. He's busy. I'm still working on the camper, and it's just a lot of details. It's taking
Yeah, but he
forever.
got the countertops in, and they're looking sharp.
I've got one of the countertops in. But,
Yeah.
I mean, it's not...
Are you going to put a picture in here?
No, it's just not enough progress to...
Oh.
I mean, it's just been a lot of details.
But he painted the cabinets white, and we have a kind of a brownish, rustic looking countertop, but it looks really sharp.
Butcher block countertop.
Yeah, butcher block. That was what we're looking for. So it looks really good. I can't wait to get that up and running. That's going to be so fun to go on our first camping trip. Maybe we can do our podcast from a campground. Who knows?
Yeah.
It'd be kind of fun. My week was uneventful. Same thing. Get up, go to work, come home. Same thing over and over again. Mother's Day is tomorrow.
It is.
I'm looking forward to the kids coming over and playing games and having dinner and just kind of hanging out and, just being together.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. That'll be fun.
Yeah. And seeing my mom and wishing her happy Mother's Day or happy birthing person day, as they're calling it now.
We'll have to have cards that say happy birthing
gosh.
person.
That's so insulting. Why are people not insulted by that? But anyway, okay. All right, we better wrap this up. Thanks so much for watching, guys. We appreciate your time.
Yeah,
And
thanks for listening.
We did a lot of babbling this time, so.
Yeah, thanks for listening and watching.
All right, have a great week. We'll see you next time.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
So hot in here.
Well, you're just nervous.
I'm nervous.
Well, you're
I'm
frustrated.
nervous.
You're frustrated because you can't get your
I'm
thing to
frustrated.
work. Yes, you are. You're frustrating me.
I'm not frustrated at all.
Yeah.
Hey, Karen, did you hear the... Oh, are you
Sorry,
ready?
I'm not ready.
Hey, Karen, did you hear that they are going to...
Okay, start over. Check, check, check. Okay, go.
Check, 1, 2, can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can hear you. Okay.
Okay. 1, 2. Hey, Karen, did you hear that they're going to... Hey, Karen, did you hear that they are going to finally prosecute some election fraud?
Well, no, I didn't hear that. It's about time.